Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to an Emily the Mystic live video. I have not done a live video in some time now, and I'm really excited for this conversation and to kind of pick back up my live videos where I left off, because one thing I've really been working on cultivating in my own life and in my business is more community, more sacred sisterhood, more connection. And I am so excited to be inviting on a dear friend and business partner, Alden, to participate in this amazing conversation so we can chat about all of those things and also just create some sacred connection. I know there's so much going on in the world right now, and for many of you, you may be just feeling like you need some distraction, you need to take some time away from what's going on out there, what's going on the news. And I also hope that this live conversation uplifts your spirits, brings a smile to your face, helps inspire your day today. Also, with the eclipse we had over the weekend, you may be still feeling the after effects of that and the intensity of that. And so again, I am really excited to be chatting today with my friend Alden as we bring to you some sacred conversation about energy work, what's going on in our own lives, crystal healing, and some of the really powerful things that Alden does in her own business. So I'm really excited to bring her on, and we're going to be continuing the conversation a little bit later on after this live video channel, so you can continue the fun with us on YouTube as well. But I'm bringing her on now, and we'll get this party started. Hello, beautiful.
Hello. So good to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Ooh, I am just adjusting my camera.
Yeah, it came on. I was adjusting for the full screen, and then it was like, she has no forehead. Yeah.
How was your weekend? How was your eclipse? What's been moving and grooving for you on a personal level?
Great question. I saw you posted some like Emily the Mystic fall pumpkin stuff. My husband and I went to the pumpkin patch, got some pumpkins. I got a fairy tale pumpkin, which I was really thrilled about.
I love those.
And also went apple picking, and I made a gluten-free apple pie. So it was nice to do those sort of fall rituals. Yeah. And in addition, the energies of the eclipse have just been very intense, as well as you mentioned in the intro, all the upheaval going on in the world. Yeah. And things have been very dense and very heavy. You know, it's like we are moving into Scorpio season. That shadow work is happening. Yeah. Like, no marking, ready or not, here we come. So I've just noticed a lot of people have been very tired, a lot of fatigue, energy. So just honoring that within yourself. Really, I host new and full moon rituals in the Lunar Sanctuary, and for this new moon in Libra and the solar eclipse, a lot of stuff was coming up about collective grief. And so just like honoring that we're all experiencing collective grief and supporting that within each other, I think is important. How about you? How was your weekend? What's coming up for you with the eclipse and the new moon?
So beautiful, all of it. Yeah, I mean, for me, I have felt the energies really heavily over the last 2 weeks. So I've been having the universe mirror back to me situations, things in my life, honestly, even more so before this weekend started, which has been really interesting just to kind of see, like, personally what the universe is asking me to kind of do and move into as I am, you know, setting intentions for myself of growth and wanting to grow in my business and in my personal life. Of course, the universe has really been showing me what I need to let go of in order to have that growth, and the places where I've been too comfortable and just, you know, too in my normal day-to-day routine. And my guides are like, it's time for you to step into deeper levels of leadership. It's time for you to let go of some of the more comfort level stuff that you've been doing in your business for a while. And it's time to move into deeper deeper, more exciting opportunities in my own business. I know that sounds very vague, and that's because
No, I'm
I
following.
haven't
Yeah.
been able to kind of announce some of the things I've been working on behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
but in a couple of weeks I will be able to do that, and that's going to be really exciting. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so lots shifting, you know, for me, and I'm just really excited to like integrate all of it and start actually sharing it with you guys and taking the inner work that I've been doing outwardly with everybody.
Yeah, it's probably better to be a little vague during eclipse season anyway.
I know, right?
There's a portal. Just out of curiosity, do you have, I'm not an astrologer, but it's definitely like a special interest of mine. Do you have like significant Libra placements?
I actually do not. Libra is in my 6th house of like work and daily routines. So it's also for me been about structuring more me time and prioritizing myself in my business schedule and calendar for a given week. So that's been really interesting because I've been wanting to like add in things like daily breath work and meditation to help nourish myself and also make sure I'm balancing everything. Because
Totally.
it's all about balance, right?
Exactly. All about balance and like so much about the relationship with the self. And I was just asking the question if you had Libra placements because I have a lot of Taurus placements and my nodes, the axes are Taurus and Scorpio. So the last few rounds of eclipse seasons with being in Taurus and Scorpio really, really like kicked my booty to say the least. Yeah.
I'm a Taurus rising, so I get it. Yes, totally get it.
Yeah, Taurus moon. Okay, that's why we get along. It all makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously.
Is it all right if I light a candle and
yeah.
some space? I always love to. This is a Lilith candle for some shadow work.
Oh my God, love it. Lilith is one of my faves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really amazing.
I work with her very deeply. I love her to death.
How do you? In what ways do you work with her?
She actually has sort of taken post as one of my main spirit guides just within the last year. And really from a deep shadow work perspective, because I've been really prioritizing the past life work, the shadow work, the childhood stuff for the last like year and a half. And so she's really been supportive in me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I'm going to ask you about that when I'm interviewing you in the YouTube. We'll go more into that. So this is some Arizona cypress that I got when I was out in Sedona.
Beautiful.
I foraged it from the ground and it's already splintered off the tree. And yeah, just calling in our guides, making the space sacred, honoring a bubble of light around the two of us and all who are in this space with us virtually, watching live, watching after. And that all we transmit, all we share, maybe for the highest good of all.
100%. Yes.
Thank you.
So Alden, I would love to hear a little bit about you. If you want to introduce yourself to my audience so that they can get to know you better, whatever you would like to share.
Yes, of course. So hi, I'm Alden. I use the she series of pronouns, and I have my wonderful little corner of the internet called Alden's Energy Healing. I have been practicing energy work for about 7 years now. I think I honestly kind of lose track. It's just such a way of life now. I'm sure you feel the same way with the work you do. Because I'm so immersed in it, and it's like stuff I do for myself as well as for others now. And so I'm a Reiki Master, and I am also an advanced crystal master. So I studied for 2 years with Hibiscus Moon.
Wow.
That was really wonderful. Honestly, I also have a college degree. And like she didn't mark. She really went for it. It was college level study. But it was great because I'm a Sagittarius. I love learning. I love speaking truth to power. My husband's a neuroscientist, so I love bridging like science and psychology with energy work. It's not the forefront of what I do, but it's definitely something I keep in mind. And I'm also a mystic witch as well as an hereditary intuitive. So that's why I was drawn to you, because of your mysticism and the work that you do.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love all of the
Thank
things.
you.
And where are you located again? I know, but just so the audience knows.
Yes, I am located on the East Coast in the greater Boston area. And so I do in-person healing sessions here. Just recently started doing in-person healing sessions in Boston, as well as distance healing sessions.
Amazing. Well, we're holding down the fort with the East Coast.
We are
energy
here.
East Coast intuitives. And we need, there's a lot of dense energy here on the East Coast, in my personal opinion. So I love being able to spread my light from here. I'm sure you do as well.
I do too. And my mentor, Ashley Michelle, her business name is Starseed Shadows. She's in Rochester area.
So cool.
So we're just like doing this little energy grid of East Coasters. I love it.
100%. So tell us a little bit more about your work and how you feel like it impacts your clients and sort of what gifts you share.
Yeah. So I feel like starting with why I got into the work is probably the most important, story. So I've always been a very spiritually leaning person. I, talk to rocks and trees and wind when I was little, growing up in New Hampshire. And I grew up like being able to sort of see flitting things in the corners of my eye, but I'm sure you had this experience too, where like people told you it wasn't real. And so you shut it down. And so I was very shut down during my teenage years, but then I moved to New York City and I started an acting conservatory. And moving from the backwoods of New Hampshire to New York City really was a huge shock to my nervous system. And the acting conservatory was extremely competitive, extremely intense, not a lot of sleep every night. Like you sort of be like, oh, I got 3 hours of sleep. It was very unhealthy. And then a mix of other just things of not knowing how to regulate my nervous system in a big city, pushing too hard, not taking care of myself, like shutting down my reproductive system with birth control. All was sort of like this cocktail stew for severe burnout and severe health issues. So in 2016, I really, really hit a wall and I was like, something needs to change. And then I started getting Reiki healings, and they were honestly, at that point, I was undiagnosed, but I know now that I have PCOS, PMDD, and ADHD, and I was undiagnosed, and I just like, every doctor I went to, they're kind of like, we don't know what we're doing. Like, not that we don't know what we're doing, but we don't know what to do with you. Like,
I can't hear you. Oh no. Wait. There we go. There we go. Now I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Doctors were like, well, maybe it's in your head. Like, we don't know what to do with you. And I want to be very clear. Like, I pursued diagnoses. I am currently medicated. Like, I am not anti-Western medicine. Like, do what you need to do to support yourself. For me and my journey, as I was trying to figure out what was going on, very often for the first few years, Reiki was the only thing that was a consistent support for me as I was figuring out what was going on with my chronic condition. And so being a Sagittarius, I got very, very into learning about all of this stuff. And also acting is energy work. Like, we were very woo-woo in our acting conservatory. It's about shifting your energy so you impact the energy of others in the room. It's about clearing your blocks so that as you move through whatever lines you're saying or whatever thing you're doing, you can really channel the essence of the character without putting your own sort of junk on it. So I had gotten much more open to my own energy. I'd been healing a lot. And within that, my intuitive gifts started expanding and opening up again. And this time I didn't want to shut them back down. So I got Reiki level 1 and 2 attuned, and I started doing the crystal healing certification. And that was back in 2016. And I started doing healings on friends and just trying things out. And it really, because at that point I was still more focused on acting. And it started really, really organically growing. And then there was a certain moment where I was like, wow, I really feel like I'm helping people manage their energetic field, learn how to regulate their nervous system, supported by Reiki. Because in my view, Reiki which means universal energy in Japanese, Reiki integrates everywhere into your system. It needs to integrate. It'll just go where it needs to go. You don't have to think about it too much. So it's a very nice way, if you don't have sort of self-regulatory tools, to learn what a regulated nervous system feels like by receiving Reiki. And then you can start to be like, okay, this is what I want to get to. How can I get to that using other things like breath work or like meditation? Sometimes it's a nice way to get out of your head. So I work a lot one-on-one with folks. I work cleansing out energy fields, cleansing out chakras, and cutting cords, clearing energetic debris, and just really refilling with light and Reiki. And because I have an acting background, I also have a really even stronger singing background. So I also incorporate chanting and toning and mantra and singing and music into that to really just like clear the field and align, so you're not holding on to other people's stuff. You're not as burnt out. And within that, I know you're interested in talking about crystals today. Crystals really, really, really help. Like when I moved to New York City, I just kind of started, I don't do this as much now, but I was in that day hoarding crystals, and they were just like lining my apartment. Yeah. I was like a little crystal gremlin. And the more I learned about the energetics of crystals, I was like, oh, this is why they help me feel good, especially in the city when I was used to being in the country.
100%. Oh my gosh, all of that is so incredibly powerful. And I just love the whole progression of your journey. I mean, I can relate to so much of what you shared. I went through a very similar physical burnout phase within my own work roles and job. I worked in the corporate world and just so disconnected from my physical body, and I call it, when I look back at that time, I sort of look at it as if I were sort of living in a false self, like a false self reality, where I was pushing myself so hard to achieve these goals and these ideals that weren't even mine, that were coming from other people and their perception of what it means to gain and have success. And I was so caught up in that I was not paying attention to my body, and my body started rebelling. Like I went through a lot of similar things to you. I had very extreme anxiety to the point where I would wake up in the middle of the night with a racing heart and thought that I had a heart condition, you know? And meanwhile, and that I went to the cardiologist multiple times, not a heart condition. And I'm just like you, like I completely support Western medicine. And also we need to be taking a look at energetically where some of the root cause of these issues are coming from.
Totally.
For me, it was a total heart chakra block, right? Exactly. And when I did some energy work around that, worked with a Reiki Master myself, all of a sudden my symptoms really started to ease. And I started to find my way back into my body again and started to feel a sense of deeper relaxation that I hadn't felt probably since childhood, honestly.
Yeah, breathing into that. And so many times I find that the energy is like the body will speak to you in symptoms in places that you haven't been acknowledging it or noticing it. And very often for the energy to get so dense that it's physical, it's taken a pretty long time. I find a lot of stuff tends to start in the energy field and then sort of draw inwards as it gets denser and denser and denser. And like for me, I've had a lot of womb stuff. So I do womb healing specifically as well. And so much of that was about not expressing my sensuality, not allowing myself to be fluid and honoring my cycles, and trying to sort of like cut off my uterus to be like, oh no, I don't have an infradian rhythm, I'm fine, and instead of like honoring those things. And that ideology started impacting my uterus and impacting my ovaries. And so much of the work that I do is, okay, where in the energetic has it turned into physical, and where can we release some of the energy that is no longer serving you to be able to also support the physical over time.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And honestly, it's a lifelong journey. Like, I don't want anyone watching this to think that we are above it all or have figured it all out. Cause I know for me, like, I just sprained my ankle a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh shit, better take a look at what's going on
Mm-hmm.
energetically. That would cause me to manifest, you know, an injury like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of inner work there that I needed to explore and discover, okay, why is my energy field forcing me to slow down?
Yeah.
Because that inhibits movement, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I have to take a look at, okay, why am I not able to move as quickly as I normally would be able to move? So forced relaxation, slowing down, taking a look internally at some of the things that I was ignoring. And as soon as I did that, my symptoms really started to alleviate. So
Because your body, as well as like your guides and the universe, will speak to you quietly and give subtle cues. And if you're not listening, it's just going to keep, all of the above are just going to keep getting louder and louder and louder until you do listen, until you're sort of forced to listen.
100%. So how do you use crystals in your practice to help support you?
Yes. Great question. So how I use crystals in my practice, I do crystal gridding for distance work. So I have a grid and I place crystals on it in corresponding chakra locations as well as energy field locations. And I know, sort of all the textbook things for crystals, but I've really gotten to a place with crystals where I learn to connect and sense the energy of each crystal and feel what its uses for me, for my practice. And also before every session with a client, I will look through my whole beautiful collection of crystal allies and I'll be like, okay, this person really needs this carnelian for their sacral chakra, or this atlantisite to connect with their past life in Atlantis and support some healing there. The crystals really speak to me intuitively at this point. And then when I work in person, I actually lay a grid physically on the person as well, if they're comfortable with that. And that's really potent because, when it's on you, it even gets energetically more in your field. I do send the crystal energy with Reiki distance, and I find it's potent. I receive my own healings. But it is nice to have like the somatic weight of them on you as well. And I've brought quite a few crystals here to demo today.
Hey,
I'm going to start off with a basic clear quartz. So every crystal has a crystalline structure that, if it's real, if it's from Mother Earth, it has grown in the ground for a very long time and been, connected to the bedrock, to Mother Earth in crystal caves. And every crystal has a unique crystalline structure that is very hard to knock out of whack, to knock off balance. It's solid, it is rock. Whereas we as human beings, spirits in these meat sacks, are made of mostly water and also atomically mostly space too. So we get knocked off and bopped off really easily. Think of, the moon shifting the tides, or how quickly we can run out of electrolytes and feel really dehydrated and fatigued. So what crystals do is they have a very strong crystalline structure, and each of them have a dominant oscillatory rate of a frequency. So I like to use my pendulum to show this from this point. So this is about the spinning rate of this clear quartz crystal here. And if you think of the chakras, the energy centers in the body, like notes on a piano, sometimes piano keys get out of tune. Sometimes our chakras get out of whack. Our energy centers get out of whack. So the crystals are like retuning a piano. You place the quartz crystal on your crown chakra and it redraws the energy back into the dominant oscillatory rate of the crystal, of the strong crystalline structure, and helps you really realign, rebalance, and bring a sense of peace. A lot of crystals are really great for reducing anxiety and bringing back vitality. And I wanted to do I brought some things to do a demo. This is a raw quartz. So this grew naturally like this in the ground. And then I wanted to bring in a man-made point. So we have a man-made point like this, and no shade against man-made points. This is a man-made point of a citrine. So the citrine itself is natural, but then it was carved to look like this.
Yeah.
And so basically the crystalline structure didn't all grow in this direction. It could be growing this way, and we don't know.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yep.
So just doing an example, this is the point from the citrine.
Oh,
so
interesting.
So as
you different.
Yeah. So as you can see, there's still energy coming from it, but it's like way, way weaker. Honestly, I'm doing an experiment right now. I'm curious to see where it's strongest. So it seems like it grew in that direction.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
So if you have a pendulum and a crystal, so honestly, I might go now when I'm working, I might do it this way.
Yeah.
Like the energy's stronger at that end. And then I brought some different styles to show you. This is a labradorite slab.
Oh, I love that.
And so I know I got this in Whidbey Island in Washington State. I'm obsessed. This is one of my favorites. But as you can see, this is the slab, so its energy is a little more dissipated as opposed to with the point, but it's still pretty strong. And this, is just a natural slab. And then I tried to bring every single type. This is a palm stone of a strawberry quartz. And you'll see its energy is a little bit more radiant everywhere as opposed to the point, which just sent it in a really specific direction. This energy is really strong. So yeah, just something interesting to notice. And the bigger the crystal, the bigger the energetic field around the crystal will be. But that doesn't mean that small crystals are bad. Sometimes I find small crystals can be just as potent and effective. I have quite a lot of small crystals in my collection personally. And I love using them just when I have a headache. I use amethyst on my head and take a nap with it. Or when I'm stressed, I put lepidolite in my pocket and carry it around. And before an audition, I have some hematite I put in my pocket to ground me. And today, actually, if you would like to hear about them, because I know you do a lot of past life work, past life regression, mysticism, I brought some crystals that can relate to sort of ancestral and past life things if you would like me to share.
Would love to hear. Yes,
great.
Please.
So we'll go back to this labradorite, and I find labradorite to be a fabulous.
Got mine right here.
Yes! Oh my God. So perfect. It's what I was going to say. It's a fabulous starseed crystal.
Yeah.
And it's super galactic. I find it connects to the third eye, to the witch's eye, but I also find it to be very grounding. I don't know if this is because I'm a starseed myself. But labradorite is one of my favorite crystals. And I mean, if you look at it, it's all
it's magical.
Reflective.
I have mine right at hand, so I can hold on to it during a reading.
Exactly, because it helps you channel better. I find it helps connect you to source, helps you channel while also staying grounded in your body, because especially when we're mystics, old souls. I mean, my name, Alden, literally means old friend. I'm getting chills as I'm saying this. It can be so easy to just sort of auto-yeet out of our bodies. And it's like, no, we decided to incarnate here in this.
We're meant to be human.
Yeah, so let's stay human. So if I want to do some traveling amongst the stars while staying in my body, this is what I use.
Perfect.
And then this is another wonderful starseed crystal, which is very soothing. This is called Amazonite.
Oh.
This is in the shape. Yeah. This is in the shape of a Zuni bear. I got this in Sedona. But the Amazonite itself is very, very soothing, very relaxing, very calming, and great for people with anxiety. And I also find it really connects to the energies of Lemuria.
Oh, love that. I have quite a few pieces of Amazonite from actually a trip I went to in Sedona and from Denver, Colorado, so from out west.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. You know what? Because I also find Amazonite to be a starseed crystal, and I I always think it's really interesting. I was in Sedona actually shopping with another woman who also was like a Lemurian priestess in a past life, but she didn't really know much about crystals. But people who were Lemurian in past lives tend to be very drawn to crystals and energy work.
Makes sense.
And she literally, like, without even knowing, I'm getting chills as I say this, she picked up Amazonite and Labradorite, and I was like, you don't need my help. What am I here for? You know.
I love that. That's magical.
Yeah, I have a few more to show, but do you have any questions before I do the rest?
My one question for you, because you are a crystal expert, and I feel like this is the one thing everybody always wants to know, is how do you recommend that we clear our crystals and keep their good vibration?
You're so right. That is the one question everyone wants to know. I literally, because I'm making an energy alchemy course for energetic hygiene right now.
Love it.
And it's the early bird starts next week on October 23rd, and I have a crystal module, and I filmed like a 25-minute video all on this yesterday for that, because I'm like, yes, that is the one thing everyone wants to know. So I won't talk for 25 minutes about this now. If people want more info.
The big points.
Yeah. If people want more info, they can check out Energy Alchemy. But I will say the big categories are, you can use sound, you can use other crystals. So selenite and amethyst are really good for this. You can use smoke cleansing. I would recommend with local, sustainably foraged herbs. You can also use moonlight or sunlight, and you can use salt as well as water. And I would say for the water, just be careful, because not all crystals are water safe. Those are the three big ones. Oh, and you can also bury crystals in the ground just to make sure to dig them up again. That's what Hibiscus Moon called giving her crystals a vacation. So those are the big ones. I'd say, I'd say my favorite is doing sound. I literally just search on YouTube, like 528 hertz clearing music. And literally after a one-on-one session, I will take my whole computer and put it in front of all the crystals I worked with that day and just play the music to them to cleanse them. And then that also recharges them. Sometimes various friends of my husband have walked into the room where I do energy healings, and they're like, why is there music playing to a bunch of crystals? And he's like, I've learned not to ask too many questions.
Like all your little pets are lined up waiting to get their like little energy healing done.
Yeah, my menagerie. Continuing on with the crystals. So my other Larimars went missing, but I have this lovely Larimar ring. Larimar is actually only found in the DR, Dominican Republic, and it is super, super connected to the energy of Atlantis. I've actually done some past life regressions where I've gone back to a past life in Atlantis, and I've gone to this sort of techie underwater bubble, for lack of a better word, that was filled with Larimar, like on the ground, and as like the computer consoles and things. So that's Larimar. And then if you just want to be really point blank, this is Atlantisite. So Atlantisite's a great crystal. And last but not least, we have some Lemurian seed quartz. And this has an aura sheen on it. So the sheen is synthetic. Some people say that when the sheen gets added due to the temperature that's caused for the sheen, it kind of messes with the crystalline structure. And I have to say I don't disagree with that, but I do love how it looks so much. So maybe that's horrible of me. But the Lemurian seed, it has these little lines on the side, and it is said that in Lemuria these crystals were stored and encoded with this information, and you can run your fingers along it and download Lemurian information from that. So those are the extra esoteric starseed past life ancient civilization crystals for you. Do you have any other questions before we close out?
Magical. I would say my last question is, do you recommend that, let's say we go and buy a new crystal that we're drawn to and we bring it home? Do you recommend that we sit with our crystal and set an intention to activate it? Or do you have their guidance for bringing a new crystal home with you?
Oh, that's a great question. So for me, I'd say make sure you feel a connection to a crystal. Don't get a crystal just because you feel like you should get a crystal.
Right.
If there's something where you're not necessarily feeling a connection to any crystals, but someone's like, hey, I think this Larimar would be really good for you, maybe get it, try it, see how you feel. Also, if you have a very strong aversion to a crystal, sometimes that is because of a past life wound or like a really shut down chakra. So I would actually encourage you to get it then as well, and just gently work with it, get your energy field used to it, sort of ask you what the messages the crystal wants to share with you are then. For picking crystals in stores, oftentimes what you're intuitively drawn to is the right one for you. Like I mentioned with my starseed friend I went shopping with. Also, I would recommend sensing the crystal energy with whatever your non-dominant hand is. I do have a handout on how to sense crystal energy. It's in my links. But sensing the crystal energy, just noticing it. And if you get an extra like zizzy, tingly sensation in your palms, it works best with a raw point, but it can be done with anything.
Yeah.
So if you want to try it, Emily, you can take your non-dominant hand, take your labradorite or something, and I'll do a palm stone too, because that's what you're working with. And now take the palm stone in your dominant hand.
Okay.
And start swirling it in front of your palm. And you might start noticing a magnetic sensation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I bet especially because you're already connected to that crystal and you work with it a lot. And as you saw from the pendulum that I did, different crystals have stronger energy in certain areas. So you can sort of move it around, see what works for you. I find it works best with the palm stone when it's in this positioning. And if you're feeling really connected to its energy, if you're able to sense its energy, I would recommend that you bring that one home and you connect with it. And I think you asked something about charging it with your intention. I find some crystals already sort of come pre-charged, like the seed quartz. I wouldn't necessarily go charge it with my intention. It's more like I'm connecting with the crystal, and I also have a meditation for how to connect with your crystal and energy alchemy. Connecting with this crystal, sort of asking it what messages it has for you. Like, really, like, crystals are guides, crystals are allies. You know, I'm getting chills as I'm saying this. But then something more like a quartz, like the citrine. This one, its energy came to me pretty neutral, so you totally can charge it. Especially citrine is really, really great for abundance. Oh, I see someone in the chat. Hi, Kristen. Good to see you. Yeah, so in that case, I would take it, and in addition to cleansing and doing all the things with cleansing and charging that I mentioned, you can take the tip of it between your fingers and send your intention into the crystal and really allow your energy frequency to align with the energy frequency of the crystal, because in that way it raises your vibration as you're setting the intention into the crystal. But I'll be real, I often find that the crystals guide me as opposed to me putting my things on the crystals. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And I love that reframe. That is so beautiful, and I think just helps you get to know the crystal better versus you trying to control it.
Exactly. Which is like such like being like, oh, I'm getting this thing and it's gonna do it for me and I want to act this way, is a very you know, sort of Western colonizer view, I think, as opposed to like what is the teaching that we can learn from these sacred objects from the land. You know,
Right.
because I come from a very often a more Celtic spirituality angle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to me what the teachings of like really animism are.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is so lovely. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I see y'all.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you, thank you.
And I have one last question for you, Alden, on the note of crystals,
Yeah.
because I feel like you are such an expert in picking crystals that are sustainably sourced and that come from, you know, a really reputable place. Do you have any guidance for that? Because sometimes I feel like when you're just browsing the internet or trying to find a specific crystal, like where do you recommend we go to make sure we're picking one that is coming from a good place?
Oh, yeah, that is so, I won't even lie, that's so hard because there are so many like scams and fakes, and not even just scams and fakes, but like unethical crystals and blood crystals. Like I don't get lapis lazuli anymore because it tends to be from a very war-torn area where people are abused as they're mining it, sort of thing. And I will admit, I've had issues where I've bought from sellers who said they were going to give me real turquoise and then they gave me fake turquoise. Like I have been scammed. I'm good at identifying when I have the crystal in my field, but sometimes people aren't who they say they are, and it's shitty. You know, I will say, I'm going to give a shout out, not affiliated with any of these people, but to Cave and Canyon, as well as Loving Thyself Rocks. Both of those shops are really wonderful, as well as Crystal Magic in Sedona, actually where I got.
Love Crystal Magic.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, oh yeah, honestly the best crystal store ever.
Yeah.
And Ascend Crystals in Salem is also very good. So I think just like knowing that the owners of the shop care about the sort of trail of the crystals, the impact of the crystals, and knowing that this is stuff that is mined from Mother Earth. Very frequently crystals that you receive are sort of slough, or it was the area wasn't mined specifically for the crystal, they were mining for something else. And the crystals are sort of byproduct. So honestly, in that case, I'm like, well, what was going to happen to the crystal anyway? I sort of feel like I'm adopting the crystal. I'm like, you're safe, come with me.
Totally.
Yeah. But just it is tricky, I think, feeling into the energy of the crystal, feeling into the energy of the store. Places, especially like Cave and Canyon, I think they're very great about the transparency of their shopping line. And like I even got my ring from Brilliant Earth, and some of this is lab made and then everything else is ethically sourced. So they also are very transparent about their product. I can't even think of the word. It's the thing that they always have been saying during the pandemic of it's blocked, the product, whatever, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so just being conscious, doing your research, check out those stores I mentioned. Again, not affiliated. I just feel confident in recommending them, and trust your intuition.
Yes. Such a good message to end on. I feel like that's perfect.
Thank you so much, Emily.
You're welcome.
And now we'll be going over to YouTube and I'll be interviewing you. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're keeping the party going. So if you're watching us live on Instagram, come on over to Alden's YouTube channel, because we're going to be talking more about some of the work that I do as well, which will be super fun. So Alden, share with everybody where they can find you in general, and then where they can find the live video on YouTube as well.
Yes. So where you can find me in general, aldensenergyhealing.com is a great way to start. All one thing mushed together, all lowercase. It's Alden, like Walden Pond without the W, ALDEN. And that's a great way to start. You can also find me on Instagram, Alden's Energy Healing. Check out my newsletter. You can check out the Sense and Crystal Energy freebie, which is a PDF instructional and video guide if you want to learn more about how to sense crystal energy. And then I also do by proxy healings on YouTube. And so that is where you can find us for the live. That's just Alden's Energy Healing. If you type it in, it should pop up. And you can also work with me in one-on-one distance healings and the Lunar Sanctuary, as well as my upcoming spiritual retreat in Costa Rica. So lots of ways to do energy work and have me support you on your spiritual journey. Thank you so much for having me here, Emily.
You're welcome. This has been so fun. And thank you everybody who joined us live or watching the replay. We're sending you all huge hugs and so much love with everything going on. And we will see you in just a few minutes on YouTube.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.